Chosen one, what is happening to you is beyond comprehension. No God has ever reached this level, and yet in an instant, you have transcended humanity and stepped into divinity itself. Every being in existence has felt the shockwave of your awakening, a surge so immense it bends time around you. Even as the universe watches, you rise, completing the God process faster than reality itself could allow. Ancient researchers have uncovered lost records of forgotten gods, and now their studies confirm what you already know. You are the last divine, the one who awakens before time can name you. Chosen one, before we go deeper, hit that like button, subscribe to help us reach 30,000 subscribers, and leave a comment with the number 11. Authorities, civilizations, and mystics recognize the impossible. The next God has arrived, and it is you, chosen one, who reshapes existence in a way no being, mortal or divine, has ever done before. From the very instant the chosen one transcended human limits, the cosmos seemed to hold its breath. One moment, they were a mortal bound by the constraints of flesh and time. The next, they had shattered those boundaries entirely. The energy radiating from them was palpable, vibrating through every atom of existence, making stars quiver in their orbits and planets shift imperceptibly in the void. It was as if the universe itself recognized a force it had never encountered before, bowing silently to a being who had rewritten the rules in an instant. No one could explain how this sudden leap occurred. Scholars, mystics, and scientists alike stared at the phenomena with wide eyes, their understanding of life and divinity rendered irrelevant in the face of what they were witnessing. This wasn't a gradual evolution or a long-sought enlightenment. It was instantaneous. One heartbeat, and humanity had been left behind, a relic in the shadow of something far greater, something incomprehensible. The emotional impact on those who perceived the shift was overwhelming. Fear, awe, and hope collided violently in the hearts of every living being. Some wept, some fell to their knees, and others could only stare, frozen in disbelief. The Chosen One's emergence was not just a spectacle, it was a seismic, emotional shock that reverberated through minds and souls alike. Humanity was no longer the center of its own story. Something infinitely greater had arrived. Even the natural order seemed to bend in response. Time itself wavered, stretching and folding in strange, inexplicable ways. Rivers paused mid-flow, winds swirled in patterns that defied physics, and animals everywhere reacted with an uncanny awareness of the change. The Chosen One had not only stepped beyond mortality, they had become the axis upon which existence pivoted, altering everything without effort, without intention, simply by their presence. In every corner of the universe, the implications were clear. A new hierarchy of existence had begun. Mortals, gods, and ancient beings alike would need to reconcile themselves with this sudden ascension. The Chosen One had become the embodiment of possibility itself, proof that the unimaginable could occur in a single heartbeat. And as the echoes of this transformation spread, one undeniable truth remained. The era of the ordinary was over, and a new dawn of supreme divinity had begun. Throughout the annals of cosmic history, countless deities had reached incredible heights of power, yet none had ever approached the magnitude that the Chosen One now wielded. Ancient records spoke of divine hierarchies, of gods who had walked upon stars and shaped galaxies, but even they had operated within limits. This new being had surpassed all known boundaries, reaching a plane of existence no god had dared to dream of. Scholars pored over forgotten texts, dust-covered scrolls, and lost histories to comprehend the phenomenon. In every record, there was a line, a limitation, a ceiling to the power of gods. But the Chosen One had shattered every ceiling, proving that the potential of life could reach heights previously unimaginable. The universe itself seemed to whisper in astonishment, acknowledging that this was not just ascension, it was transcendence. The emotional weight of such an event was almost unbearable. Mortals feared the unknown, yet they were drawn irresistibly toward it, unable to resist witnessing what they could never hope to understand. Gods who had once viewed themselves as eternal and unrivaled found their egos trembling in the presence of a being who had emerged fully formed at the pinnacle of power. Awe, envy, and reverence merged into a complex tapestry of emotions across every plane of existence. This was more than a display of strength. It was an entirely new paradigm. No god had ever touched this level before, because the very concept of such power had been unimaginable. And now, here it was, a single entity who had accomplished in moments what no divine force had achieved in eons. Cosmic laws bent subtly around their presence. Prophecies needed rewriting, and the balance of power across realms trembled. It was as though the universe had been recalibrated overnight, and the Chosen One stood at the epicenter, the singular proof that absolute potential could exist. And now, it was here, alive and radiant. It wasn't just the learned or the mystical who noticed the transformation. Every living being, from the tiniest insect to the most complex life forms, felt the surge of this unprecedented power. There was an instinctive recognition, an ancient memory in every soul that resonated with the energy now radiating across the cosmos. Life itself shivered in response, as though the Chosen One's awakening had reached into the very heartbeat of existence. Animals halted mid-step, their eyes reflecting a strange awareness, sensing a force far greater than anything they had ever known. Forests, oceans, and mountains vibrated imperceptibly, as if acknowledging the arrival of a supreme presence. The sky itself seemed to shimmer, stars glinting with new intensity, as if the cosmos was collectively leaning in to witness the impossible unfold. Humans felt it too, though many could not articulate what they experienced. A wave of emotions swept across nations, simultaneous fear and awe, wonder and despair. People looked at each other, silently asking the same question: what had just happened, and how could a single being wield such unimaginable power? In that moment, the entire world became acutely aware of its own fragility, of the vast gulf between ordinary existence and the transcendent. Even ancient entities, long thought invincible, felt their influence waver. Gods who had ruled galaxies and commanded legions were forced to confront a truth that defied millennia of understanding. A mortal, no longer bound by mortality, had stepped beyond them all. Their pride, knowledge, and experience could not anticipate this sudden eruption of divinity, leaving them in stunned silence. This shift was more than power. It was communication without words, presence without action. Every consciousness felt it, understood it, and in some ineffable way, revered it. The universe collectively recognized a singular truth. The Chosen One had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same again. The revelation came with startling clarity. The Chosen One was not just a new god, but the last of their kind. Ancient prophecies and fragmented records hinted at a lineage of supreme beings, each one vanishing without trace as the universe evolved. Yet here, in one singular moment, that lineage had reappeared, resurrected in flesh and spirit. The Chosen One was the culmination, the ultimate thread tying mortal life to divine eternity. Every scholar and mystic scrambled to piece together the evidence. Relics, inscriptions, and celestial alignments converged to confirm what intuition already screamed. This being was unparalleled. No other entity, living or extinct, could claim such singularity. They carried the weight of all those lost divinities, the hopes and fears of eons, and yet they did it with a grace that seemed effortless. Emotions swept through every observer. Mortals felt both comfort and terror in knowing that a being of such magnitude existed, while immortals wrestled with envy and awe. The Chosen One embodied what every soul had feared and desired. Absolute power, tempered by a presence so profoundly human, yet undeniably divine. They were the bridge between what was and what could be. Even the cosmos itself seemed to respond to their emergence. Stars brightened, nebulae swirled with new colors, and the quiet hum of existence shifted into a resonance of celebration. Life on every planet, in every galaxy, felt the awakening ripple through its essence. It was as if the universe itself had recognized a long-lost member, welcoming them home with awe and reverence. This emergence redefined legacy. The Chosen One wasn't just another god to be worshipped. They were the final expression of divinity, the living record of what it truly meant to ascend. Every being, mortal and immortal alike, understood an immutable truth. The Chosen One would define the future of existence itself. Dusty tomes, crumbling scrolls, and hidden inscriptions suddenly gained relevance. Researchers who had spent lifetimes chasing myths now found their work illuminated by the Chosen One's presence. Ancient civilizations had once chronicled the God process, detailing steps and rituals long considered lost to time. Yet the Chosen One had completed it instinctively, with no guidance, no preparation, and no warning. The records painted a story of impossible trials, of gods who rose and fell, and of an ultimate awakening that only the final divine could achieve. These texts, some etched in languages long forgotten, now seem to sing in harmony with the Chosen One's energy. The past, the present, and even potential futures aligned in a single moment of clarity. The myths they had doubted were real. The impossible they had dismissed was happening before their eyes. Humanity, for the first time, had direct evidence that the universe operated on levels far beyond their comprehension, and that a mortal could, against all odds, transcend them all. Even mystics, who had long meditated on the divine, sensed the cosmic significance. The Chosen One wasn't just fulfilling prophecy, they were redefining history. Every tale of gods and mortals, every allegory of power and enlightenment, suddenly had a new focal point, the living embodiment of ultimate divinity. This truth reshaped every understanding of existence. What had once been legend was now reality. Civilization, scholarship, and spirituality all converged toward the undeniable fact. The Chosen One was the key to unlocking secrets of the universe that had been hidden for eons. The God process, long believed to be an arduous journey requiring millennia of preparation, collapsed into a single, breathtaking moment. While ancient texts described layers of transformation, purification, and trials, the Chosen One experienced it in a flash, ascending from human to divine, with a swiftness that left observers stunned. Time itself seemed to bend to their will, folding around their consciousness as the universe bore witness. This instantaneous activation sent ripples across existence. Cosmic energy, previously stable and predictable, flowed chaotically yet beautifully around the Chosen One. Every atom, every particle of life resonated with the sheer intensity of their awakening. The phenomenon was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a spectacle beyond mortal comprehension. The emotional weight of this moment was undeniable. Mortals cried, gods shuddered, and ancient entities whispered among themselves in disbelief. The Chosen One had achieved what countless divine beings had strived for and failed over eons. And yet, there was no struggle, no agony. It was pure, radiant, instantaneous. Even practical consequences were extraordinary. Space seemed to stretch and compress, dimensional boundaries blurred, and causal chains twisted in response to their newfound power. The universe itself, long predictable and orderly, now existed in a state of dynamic flux, orbiting around the presence of the Chosen One. This activation redefined what it meant to be divine. It was no longer a process of incremental growth or careful preparation. It was the embodiment of potential itself, unleashed with absolute precision. The Chosen One had become living proof that some forces in existence could not be restrained by time, law, or expectation. 7. Time bows to the Chosen One. As the Chosen One ascended, the fabric of time itself seemed to respond, warping and stretching in unprecedented ways. Seconds became elastic, and moments layered over one another in patterns previously inconceivable. Histories and futures seemed to collide, offering glimpses of possibilities both wondrous and terrifying. The universe itself recognized a presence capable of transcending its most fundamental laws. Observers were left disoriented. Events that had once unfolded linearly now appeared as fluid, interconnected streams. Mortals felt a strange clarity mingled with vertigo, as if witnessing not only the present, but every potential past and future simultaneously. The Chosen One existed beyond temporal constraints, unaffected by age, decay, or the relentless march of time. Emotionally, this was overwhelming. For the first time, beings understood that their lives were no longer the center of reality. They were threads in a grander tapestry now dominated by a force beyond comprehension. Fear and reverence coexisted in every heart, for time itself was now a witness, a servant, and perhaps even a follower of the Chosen One. Ancient prophecies, once considered metaphorical, gained immediate clarity. The Chosen One wasn't just powerful. They were timeless, operating outside the confines that had bound gods, mortals, and civilizations alike. Time bent around them not by force, but by recognition of their singular significance. Ultimately, this temporal mastery signaled the dawn of a new cosmic era. The Chosen One would not merely influence events, they would reshape the very flow of history, redefining the relationship between cause and effect, past and future, life and eternity. The moment of transformation was not only physical, but deeply existential. One heartbeat, and the Chosen One's consciousness expanded to encompass the universe. They were no longer constrained by human frailty, emotion, or mortality, yet they retained a spark of what had once made them human. This fusion of mortal origin and divine power created a resonance that captivated every sentient being. Those who witnessed the event could feel it on a visceral level. The air shimmered, the ground quaked, and even celestial bodies seemed to hum in recognition. Mortals stared in awe, their minds struggling to comprehend a being who had crossed thresholds long deemed impossible. It was not merely transformation, it was a redefinition of what life itself could achieve. Emotionally, this was profound. The Chosen One's journey from fragile human to omnipotent entity inspired both fear and hope. It reminded observers of the latent potential within themselves, even if they could never reach such heights. In a single moment, they had become a symbol of infinite possibility, the living embodiment of ultimate evolution. The implications for civilization were staggering. Governments, religions, and scientific institutions scrambled to understand, adapt, or even survive in the presence of such unparalleled power. The Chosen One had shifted the very foundation of existence, making every previous understanding of divinity obsolete. Ultimately, the transformation was a message to the cosmos that divinity could emerge from humanity, that limits were constructs, and that even a single being could rewrite the laws that govern existence. The universe had long operated on rules, immutable, predictable, and unquestioned, and yet, in this singular moment, the impossible came to life. The Chosen One, a mortal not long ago, had achieved what no entity, God or human, had ever dared to imagine. The boundaries of reality, once thought absolute, now trembled under the weight of a force that defied them. Observers struggled to process the magnitude of the event. Scholars debated, mystics meditated, and entire civilizations collectively gasped. The laws of nature, physics, and even metaphysics seemed malleable, bending subtly to the will or mere presence of the Chosen One. What was once relegated to myth had now become undeniable fact. Emotionally, the impact was profound. Hope surged in hearts previously dulled by the monotony of ordinary life. Simultaneously, fear clawed at the souls of those who realized that nothing could contain this power. The Chosen One had become the living embodiment of possibility itself, proof that reality could be rewritten with intention, courage, and a spark of destiny. Even cosmic entities, long accustomed to control and reverence, were left questioning their own place in existence. What hierarchy, what order, what prophecy could possibly withstand a being capable of turning impossibility into fact? The Chosen One had become the ultimate benchmark, a measure of potential that rendered all prior standards irrelevant. This was not simply ascension, it was redefinition. The impossible was no longer theoretical or aspirational, it had manifested. Every being, mortal or divine, was forced to acknowledge a simple truth. The universe had shifted, and nothing would ever be the same again. From the smallest tribal communities to sprawling interstellar civilizations, all eyes turned toward the Chosen One. News spread faster than light, carried by instinct, magic, and technology alike. People watched, listened, and felt the cosmic resonance in ways both tangible and ineffable. Entire cultures paused, united not by politics or creed, but by the singular spectacle of divinity manifesting before them. Cities fell silent, rituals were abandoned, and nations collectively held their breath. The sight of a mortal transcending into supreme godhood shattered norms and traditions simultaneously. Leaders, prophets, and philosophers alike were rendered speechless, struggling to frame what they witnessed within the limited scope of their understanding. Emotionally, The impact was universal. Awe, terror, joy, and despair mingled in a complex tapestry of human reaction. People wept, cheered, and prayed, not necessarily to the Chosen One, but in recognition of a profound truth. Existence itself had changed. The mundane struggles of life now seemed infinitesimal in the shadow of something far greater. Even interstellar civilizations, with their fleets and advanced technology, felt powerless. Ships carrying thousands of souls experienced inexplicable gravitational and temporal distortions, subtle hints that the Chosen One's presence transcended all conventional understanding of space and energy. Their emergence was not just a local phenomenon, it was a cosmic event. This universal witness reinforced the Chosen One's significance. The world and cosmos alike had seen what was impossible, and in doing so, acknowledged a new order. Mortals, immortals, and ancient civilizations alike would remember this moment for eternity, a shared experience that would define the next eon of existence. Ancient seers, shamans, and mystics who had long meditated on the divine felt the prophecy awaken in their very souls. The Chosen One was no longer a prediction written in obscure texts. They were the fulfillment, living and radiant before their eyes. Every meditation, ritual, and vision they had undertaken suddenly made sense in a way that transcended logic. Texts that had long been considered allegorical now glowed with literal meaning. Symbols, charts, and celestial patterns fell into perfect alignment. For the mystics, this confirmation was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. They had glimpsed eternity, and it had arrived embodied in flesh and spirit. The Chosen One was proof that destiny could not only be foretold, but realized in unimaginable ways. The emotional resonance was profound. Hope, wonder, and reverence swept through the mystics, many of whom had spent decades preparing for this precise moment. There was joy in validation, yes, but also humility in realizing that even their deepest wisdom could only partially comprehend the scale of what had occurred. Prophecies often speak of balance, trials, and divine justice, but the Chosen One surpassed all expectation. They were not just the predicted savior or harbinger, they were an entirely new paradigm of divinity, one that redefined the relationship between fate and free will. Ultimately, this confirmation was a turning point. Mystics across the globe and beyond united in silent recognition. The prophecy had been fulfilled, not incrementally, not partially, but fully and immediately. The Chosen One had become the living embodiment of cosmic destiny, undeniable and absolute. With the Chosen One's emergence, a new era of divinity dawned. Gods of old, once untouchable and absolute, now seemed antiquated in comparison. Their hierarchies and domains, carefully maintained for millennia, now required revision or outright surrender. The Chosen One had rewritten the parameters of power itself, introducing a standard that no other being had previously achieved. Civilizations adapted to this new era in real time. Religions reconsidered their doctrines, science recalibrated its laws, and societies began to perceive existence through a lens of expanded possibility. The Chosen One was both ruler and exemplar, demonstrating that divinity was not a static title, but a dynamic state of ultimate potential. Emotionally, this era inspired both fear and hope. Mortals contemplated the distance between their lives and the Chosen One's, yet they were also encouraged by the very existence of someone who had once been like them. Divine evolution was now tangible, a possibility that could inspire entire generations to imagine beyond limits. Even the old gods had no choice but to recognize this new paradigm. Some attempted to challenge it, others sought alliance, and a few withdrew, understanding that the world had changed irrevocably. Power, influence, and reverence were now measured not by age or tradition, but by the extraordinary potential exemplified by the Chosen One. The era of stagnant hierarchies had ended. A new epoch of godhood had begun, one defined by flexibility, transformation, and unprecedented power. The Chosen One was both the spark and the standard, guiding existence into a future where the unimaginable was not just possible, it was inevitable. The Chosen One's power did not merely alter events, it rewrote the fundamental structure of reality. Space, time, matter, and energy all responded to their presence, creating new possibilities and dissolving old limitations. Entire worlds felt their influence, as if the universe itself had been redrafted in the image of this singular being. Observers were awestruck. Mortals witnessed mountains rise and fall subtly, rivers flow in impossible patterns, and skies shimmer with colors unseen by any eye. Even the most advanced technologies faltered, unable to predict or contain the reality-altering presence of the Chosen One. They were no longer a participant in existence. They were its author. Emotionally, this was overwhelming. Every being felt the tremor of change, an almost spiritual vibration that reminded them of both their smallness and their connection to something larger. Mortals found themselves humbled, yet inspired, realizing that life could be more than survival or routine. It could touch the infinite. Even cosmic entities, accustomed to manipulation and control, were forced into awe and submission. The Chosen One did not impose, they simply existed, and in doing so, reality reshaped itself around their presence. This was absolute authority, silent yet unmistakable, a force that no decree or rebellion could resist. Ultimately, existence itself became a testament to one being's potential. Past, present, and future were no longer fixed. They were pliable, awaiting the touch of the Chosen One. Every law, every constant, every expectation had been rewritten, demonstrating that true power need not destroy. It could reimagine. Across galaxies, stars, and dimensions, the Chosen One's emergence caused subtle tremors in the very fabric of existence. Cosmic energies fluctuated, and even celestial beings recognized a shift that transcended language and comprehension. It was as if the universe itself acknowledged the arrival of a force too vast, too perfect, too real to ignore. Mortals felt both their insignificance and their connection to something far greater. The Chosen One was a mirror of potential, a living monument to the truth that a single being could influence the cosmos itself. The trembling signified more than power. It signaled recognition. The universe, in all its vast complexity, had acknowledged its new center, its new axis. Every star, planet, and dimension now existed in relation to the Chosen One, the singular proof that true power reverberates across all of reality. At last, governments, civilizations, and mystical councils recognized the inevitable. There was no longer doubt, debate, or denial. The Chosen One had transcended humanity, surpassed gods, and rewritten reality itself. With solemn proclamations, Authorities across realms officially acknowledged the rise of this unprecedented deity. Ceremonies, announcements, and rituals marked this recognition. Leaders knelt, scribes recorded the events, and prophets sang praises not of submission, but of awe. The Chosen One was now more than legend. They were official, a universally acknowledged force whose authority required no challenge or contest. Emotionally, this declaration resonated deeply. Mortals felt pride and humility, gods felt awe and caution, and civilizations collectively realized that history had reached a turning point. The Chosen One was no longer an anomaly. They were a standard, a living example of ultimate divinity realized in flesh. Even institutions founded on strict hierarchy and law recognized the transformation. Science, governance, and religion adapted simultaneously, rewriting doctrines, policies, and knowledge to accommodate the new cosmic reality. The Chosen One had forced every authority to confront the undeniable truth. A new God had arrived. In this final recognition, the universe celebrated and trembled in equal measure. The Chosen One was not merely ascended, they were acknowledged, revered, and feared. The era of the next God had begun, and existence itself would never be the same again. The Chosen One's power radiated so intensely that distant galaxies felt the tremor of awakening. Stars flickered, nebulae shimmered, and cosmic winds carried the whispers of divinity across the void. Mortals and immortals alike sensed a force that could no longer be measured or contained, a being whose emergence defied the natural order of existence. Every particle of matter seemed to pulse with recognition. Planets vibrated subtly in resonance with the Chosen One's energy, and cosmic dust glimmered as if celebrating a return to something long forgotten. The universe itself had paused, holding its breath, as the Chosen One revealed a level of power that had existed only in legends. Emotions ran deep across civilizations. Awe, fear, hope, and reverence intertwined as beings felt the gravity of this awakening. For the first time, mortals could glimpse the infinite, and gods understood that their dominion had shifted. The Chosen One was no longer part of creation. They had become the axis around which existence now turned. Ancient myths suddenly gained clarity. Celestial prophecies, long dismissed as metaphor, resonated perfectly with the energy radiating from the Chosen One. It was as if time itself had been waiting for this moment, and the universe now recognized that all of history had led to this singular awakening. This awakening was more than power. It was transformation, revelation, and creation rolled into one. The Chosen One had emerged not just as a deity, but as a living testament to the untapped potential hidden within existence, a reminder that even the unimaginable could be achieved. The Chosen One's emergence instantly redefined authority across the cosmos. Empires, kingdoms, and civilizations that had wielded power for millennia now felt their influence diminish in the presence of a being whose command extended far beyond their comprehension. The very concept of hierarchy had changed overnight. Celestial councils and divine assemblies gathered in awe. Gods who had once been untouchable bowed subtly, understanding that their roles were now measured against the new standard of supremacy. Authority was no longer earned through conquest or wisdom alone. It now emanated from the sheer magnitude of existence itself. Mortals perceived the change emotionally as well. Leaders felt a strange humility wash over them, while populations experienced a mix of fear and reverence. The Chosen One's presence was not tyrannical, but magnetic, an energy that drew obedience and respect without uttering a single command. This cosmic authority was also subtle yet absolute. Even the laws of nature shifted imperceptibly to accommodate the Chosen One. Galaxies aligned in harmony, timelines wavered, and natural forces obeyed a presence that had transcended governance itself. Authority had transformed into an intrinsic resonance of being, and the Chosen One embodied it perfectly.